Hello, everyone. This is, I'm going to be honest, my first time going live on YouTube. Very excited about it. I'm also trying to go live on Instagram at the same time. So if you see my eyes go back and forth, I have my Instagram open and my YouTube open, trying to reach as many people as I can. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. I also have my notes because I'm very forgetful. So if you see me looking down, that's why. Let me know if you can hear me on YouTube, if you can hear me on Instagram. I have my headphones in. I don't actually know if it's working. So I want this to be interactive. Thank you for letting me know you can hear me on YouTube. Can you hear me on Instagram? Somebody just throw in the chat loud and clear. Thanks. Throw in the chat if you can hear me. Excellent. Oh my God, it's working. All right. I'm so glad you're here. We are going to dive into some strategies to get your toddlers talking that people really aren't talking about. And before I get into all of that, I do want this to be super interactive. This is for you. Use the chats. I'm looking at both of them. Use, comment, ask questions, likes, hearts, everything. I want to see it. I have questions for you too. So let's dive in. Who am I? Right? Hi, I'm Tala. I am a pediatric speech and language pathologist. I am a parent coach for toddlers. So I coach parents on how to get their toddlers talking. And I am a mom of two toddlers. My boys next month, which is crazy, will be 4 and 2. So I am in the thick of it with you. I have used everything that I taught that I'm going to teach you. I use it in my own house. I use it in my therapy sessions every day. It's real and it works for hundreds and hundreds of parents. So, what do I do? In my private practice, I see kids and some adults for speech therapy. So, I work with toddlers, I work with school age. In coaching, what I do is I teach you, the parents, how to do exactly what I do at home because there's just no reason that you can't learn the exact same strategies that I'm using in my sessions. But the best part is that you are with your toddler all the time, or like way more than I would be, or way more than if they're getting speech therapy once, twice a week. You're with them all the time. So these strategies that I'm going to teach you, that we're going to go over together, you can incorporate them into your everyday routines, and you should because you have to do these things anyway. Like unloading the dishwasher, doing the laundry, all those like really annoying things that you have to do anyway, might as well use them to your advantage, right? Might as well start teaching your toddler words actively. And I'm going to get into what that means while you're doing these routines. All right. So before I get into everything, how old are your toddlers? Throw it in the chat. Let me know how old your kiddos are. And we're going to dive into some strategies. I want to reading the chat here. Althea says, I struggle doing tasks because of your mental health, but he enjoys helping. You have a 22-month-old. Yes, toddlers love helping. It makes things go a lot slower, which is like a little bit annoying, but it gets them engaged and they love doing it. So to the extent that you can let toddlers help and use some of these strategies that I'm going to teach you, you're going to be off to the races. So I just want to dive into a little bit about why I even started coaching parents rather than just my private practice, which is awesome. And I love it. And I've had my private practice now for maybe 5, 6 years. But what I started to learn, actually, this happened during COVID when the world shut down and I couldn't see kids in my office anymore. So what I, after a lot of trial and error, figured out to do is that if you were, say, a 22-month-old getting speech therapy from me, I had to see you online. And you know as well as I do, our 22-month olds are not staring at a screen for 30 minutes. I like to think that I'm very engaging and great, and maybe you'll stay here and talk to me, but your toddler's not going to. And I don't take offense to it. That's just the world. So, what I had parents do is I would have them set up the computer so I could see the whole room. I would have them put AirPods in, and so I could see what was going on and I could hear what was going on, and then they could do whatever they wanted. They could be in any room they wanted to be in, but because I was in the parent's ear, I could talk directly to the parents and train them to use specific strategies. I could say, "Oh, look, this was working, this wasn't working. Let's use that again. Let's try that again. Let's try something new." And what started to happen, or what I started realizing, is that I was training the parents to be me in the room because I couldn't be in the room. And what then happens is that you can't unlearn some of these strategies once you start learning them. They sort of become part of you and you can't unlearn them. So these parents started using them all day long, probably without even realizing it. And the kids that got speech therapy this way, with the parents learning the same strategies that I use and sort of being me in the room, they were discharged in a few months from therapy. And it was awesome. So then I said to myself, why aren't I just working with the parents? Why don't I just train you to be me? Fast forward, that's where we are today. It is my goal to teach you to be me in the room and get your toddlers talking. All right, let me look at my notes, make sure I'm touching on everything. I am going to get into what I call active and passive language modeling, and these are so important to know and define and get into. What I'm going to go over here is active and passive language modeling, some strategies also that you can just take away and start using today. And this is just going to scratch the surface of what I have in my Tiny Talkers Jumpstart training. This Jumpstart training for the first 40 people who get it right now is only $47, and you learn how to teach your toddler new consistent words in just 7 days. It's really awesome. It goes in depth into some of these things, more things you need to know. You can comment Jumpstart and I'll send you the link, and I'll put the link in the comments or something. Honestly, again, I'm on Instagram and YouTube. These are two live feeds that I am not so familiar with. But if you comment Jumpstart, you want the link to it, I will somehow get you the link, I promise. Okay. So I want to ask you first. I know Althea said she has a 22-month-old. Maybe you can throw in how old your toddlers are. We can touch on that. But what are some things that you guys are doing at home to help your toddlers talk? Right? You're all here because you want to get them talking. So, what are some things that you're doing at home? I'm going to wait. I'll see if anybody puts stuff in the chat. Singing throughout the day. Singing, right? Not signing. I can't, I always like mix that up. He started singing to himself, reading and singing. Music is the world's greatest healer. Music just like transcends everything. Keep singing. It's awesome. Watch Miss Rachel. You're doing signs. You're singing. Cueing. What do you mean by cueing? Love that. Reading books and singing. He's 20 months old. Thank you for sharing that. These are really great strategies. And now I'm going to dive into active and passive language modeling. Let's start with passive language modeling because this is the advice. Before I do, let me get to some of these comments. Reading and playing. He doesn't like sitting to listen to a book. That's okay. That's a skill to work on. Following her around, playing and talking to your daughter. She's 22 months old. Thank you guys so much for sharing all of this. These are really great starts. So when you Google, how do I get my toddler talking? You're probably going to come up with a lot of Google pages that say, keep talking to them, right? Give me a like or a heart if you've heard that. Keep talking to them. Narrate what you're doing all day long. Keep narrating, keep talking. Give me a like or heart if you've heard that. Read books to them. Always keep reading to them. I see hearts coming in. I know you've heard all of these. Maybe you've even heard flashcards, right? Give me some likes or hearts if you've heard flashcards. I know you're hearing these things. These are passive language modeling strategies. And what I mean by passive language modeling is I don't mean that they're bad. They are not bad, but they're passive, right? You can sit and narrate to your toddler all day long, but they don't need to engage with you, right? They can like be playing with their train set and you can be talking to them, but they don't need to engage with you. Or they're playing with their cars and trucks or whatever they're playing with, and you're talking to them, sort of at them, but they don't need to be engaged with you, right? This is a very important distinction because what's happening then is you're narrating all day long. I'll bet that you're probably exhausted from talking. If you're exhausted, give me a like or heart from just talking all day long. And they're probably not imitating, at least at the rate that you want them to imitate words. And you're sitting here going, but I'm talking to them all day long and I'm narrating to them and I'm singing to them and I'm cueing them and I'm reading to them and we're watching Miss Rachel. Why isn't it working? Because it's passive. Your toddler has no incentive to engage with you. And it's okay. There's a time and a place for that, but it needs to be paired with active language modeling to make that difference. So, what is active language modeling? Active language modeling is a method where you manipulate a situation, and I'm going to go into this, don't just like start manipulating situations, where you manipulate situations to engage your toddler, get their eye contact, get their joint attention so that they're engaged with you, even if it's for 3 seconds. You're with them, they're with you, and you can use a strategy. I'm going to get into some strategies also in that moment to teach them a word. So we have active language modeling and then all these strategies that speech therapists use underneath, but it has to be active. Oh, I guess on Instagram, I gave myself a thumbs up. All right, cool. So in active language modeling, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Great. So we went over all these passive language modeling strategies, all these things that you're doing, but it's not working. So something needs to change. And what needs to change is active language modeling. You have to be doing this if you want to see results with your toddler. So what does this look like? This looks like we are having snack. All right. So your toddler's in a high chair or they're sitting in a chair. I don't know about you, but my 21-month-old stopped sitting in a high chair like at least 4 or 5 months ago and just refuses to. So we're sitting in a chair and he wants goldfish, whatever he's eating. And I give him 4 goldfish, but I have the rest of the bag. So in order for him to get more, he has to at least look at me, at least make a sound, at least try to engage with me to get more. Now, if you're listening, I have to tell you a very important distinction. I am not telling you to withhold items from your toddler to make them talk. I will never tell you that. I think it's terrible. I think it's mean, honestly. I know that people recommend it, but what if every time you went to go open the fridge, you had to like do a quadratic equation or something, right? Something that's really hard in that moment. And you weren't allowed to open the fridge until you did this quadratic equation. It would suck. You'd get frustrated. Do not withhold items from your toddler to get them talking. This is different. This is manipulating the situation so that you have a little bit of control. So you're going to use that moment. They finished their 4 goldfish. You have the rest of the bag and they're looking at you. That's when you implement the strategy. Maybe you use the rule of threes, which I'll teach you, but it looks like this: water, 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 and you hand it to them. So with goldfish, it would be more, 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 and you hand it right to them. You can pause for a second to see if they'll repeat, but you do not withhold those goldfish from them. They're engaged, they're with you, they have joint attention with you. You've used those 2 seconds to your advantage and you move on. This is as opposed to just giving them all the goldfish and say they're eating it and you're sitting there going, eat, eat, more, as they put more in their mouth, right? They don't need to be engaged with you at all. I hope this makes a little bit of sense. If this makes sense, you can visualize the difference here. Give me a like, give me a heart, let me know. Um, this can work in so many situations. And again, I need to be so clear to never withhold items from your toddler and force them to talk. Your toddler is not using their words at that moment because they're not ready to. They don't have them yet. It's not readily available to them, and that's what we are doing. We are teaching them new, consistent words so that they will start to become more readily available, right? Forcing them to talk, it's not natural. You didn't learn to talk by being forced to talk. It's just very frustrating, so don't do it. Um, Althea said she's also working on pointing, which is not something she usually does. This can be You can work on these gross motor movements at the same time, and I'll try and remember to touch on gross motor movements, if not in this training, then at least in another one, because they're really important for language learning. So let's go into another situation between active and passive language modeling. Say your toddler loves trains. They're at their train set, they're playing with their trains. Rather than just narrating what they're doing, right? Train goes up, 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 going down, right? You're narrating what they're doing. They're playing, you're next to them or behind them, and you're just saying what the train is doing. They're not engaged with you. They don't need to even look at you. But what if you had a train or like a car of a train that you thought they might really like? So they're playing with their trains, and then you say, "Do you want this one? Blue train?" Now they're with you. They want that train. Now you have 3 seconds to model blue train, blue, or pick 1 word, 2 words, whatever it is, blue, and give it to them, right? Now they're engaged with you. That's the difference. Say they're going I'm gonna give you more examples with the train track. They're going about playing with their trains, they're going up the hill, but all of a sudden your hand goes right where they're supposed to go. Oh no, there's a roadblock, right? Then they're going to look up at you like, kind of like, WTF, move your hand. So at that moment, I want you to take your hand and go, move, 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 and move your hand away. But they're with you. You stopped their play. You got them engaged. They have joint attention with you. See how we're breaking up and sort of manipulating these situations for active language modeling? This is so important. It's the difference between, and I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face, just narrating what they're doing, just narrating what the train is doing or what they're eating. They don't need to be engaged with you then, and they're not going to be. You need to create a situation where they are engaged with you. Let me think of another example. I was working with a client, I actually see she's here or she joined, I don't know if she's still here, and her son was wearing, uh, I guess it was like antlers or some headband that had antlers or something on it, and they kept falling off. And so rather than just put them back on and say, "On," right? He had to hand them to her, and now you can work on help. He hands them to you, and a passive language modeling would look like, "Hi, Alyssa," rather than just putting them back on his head and saying, "On," right? That's a little bit passive. He didn't need to do anything, he didn't need to engage with you, but what you can do in that moment is he hands them to you, and then you have his attention. Use it. "Help, help, help me, put on." Then it happens again. They fall off. What does he have to do? He hands it to you. He's with you. He needs you. He needs your help. Use that strategy right then and there. Um, when it comes to pointing, I want to teach you a specific strategy that you can use. I've been saying the words 3 times. This is my favorite strategy, the rule of threes. It is very easy to just throw into a situation when you have your toddler's attention. It's quick, it can be as quick as you want or as slow as you want. You don't want to go so slow that your toddler is just going to run away. You don't want to go so slow that your toddler is going to be frustrated. This is why it's so important that you're learning these strategies because who knows your toddlers better than you, right? So, the rule of threes. You say the word 3 times with different inflections, and that's important because if you're boring, your toddler's not going to want to engage with you. Think about Miss Rachel, right? Why do they love Miss Rachel? She's fun, she's engaged, she's active. Be fun and engaging. No one cares, no one's watching, but your toddler will love it. Okay, so we have the rule of threes. You're going to say it 3 times, then you're just going to give the item to your toddler. So you've mastered active language modeling. You've manipulated the situation, and now's the time, right? You're holding the goldfish, and your toddler wants more goldfish. You're going to think, oh, I can use a strategy. I can use the rule of threes. 3 times, you're going to say goldfish, then point to the goldfish. Goldfish, then hand it to them. Goldfish. They got the word 3 times and they know what to say in that situation. They're with you, they're engaged, you're modeling language. I hope that makes sense. This is the most important takeaway from this training that I hope you take away from this with. Wow, words. The most important thing that I want you to take away from this training is that if you want your toddler to learn new and consistent words, you need to be using active language modeling and strategies. Because, oh my gosh, Instagram is like loving my gestures right now. For those of you on YouTube, it just sent balloons up on Instagram. So, active language modeling. We're over passive, right? You're doing passive. You're talking to your toddlers. You're narrating to them. You're watching Miss Rachel. You're reading books to them. Don't stop reading books. Books are amazing. But your toddler's not picking up words as fast as you want or at all. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't be searching for other strategies. And guess what? There is another way. That's why people say, oh, I'm going to get them speech therapy, or I'm going to go to a speech therapist. What are we doing differently as speech therapists? We are actively modeling language. We are actively getting your toddlers engaged. And this is so important for learning language. It's why toddlers pick up language. They don't need to engage with you. They're not going to. It is your toddler's world and you are just living in it. Any parent here, I'm sure, can relate to that, right? They're going to do what they're going to do. You need to join them. You need to engage them. They're probably not going to come to you to be engaged. You need to do it. And you need to learn these strategies if you want your toddler learning new, consistent words. Again, this sort of just scratches the surface of what you learn in the Tiny Talkers Jumpstart training. This is a training you'll also have access to additional resources like a schedule that you can just print out and put on your fridge. It has exactly the routine you might use. It has emptying the dishwasher, the laundry, any routine you might use, what words to target, and how to target it. The goal of all of this is to teach you active language modeling. You are going to hear me say this until I am blue in the face. Active language modeling and take a load off you, right? Think less. I'll do the thinking for you. I'll tell you exactly what words to use and how to do it. You just learn how to do active language modeling. That's the goal. So you can follow me here on Instagram, on YouTube, follow along. You can get the Jumpstart training if you want the training. Again, comment here and I will somehow get you the training. I promise. For those of you who are just joining, I'm on Instagram and I'm on YouTube, and both of these platforms are not my comfort zone for going live. But I really thank you for being here, and I want you to walk away from here thinking about how you can manipulate situations without withholding items from your toddler. Manipulate situations so that you can actively teach your toddler new words. Because this passive language modeling, this narrating, just talking to them, reading, it's not working, right? We're here to look for other strategies. So let's do it. I will help you, I will guide you. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. For those on YouTube not following me on Instagram, at Hershey Speech Coach, you can follow me there. And if you have any questions, I'll leave this open for a couple of minutes. See if anybody has any questions or what questions you might have for me. I would love to help. That's my only goal. I want you to learn how to get your toddlers talking, and I'll do the thinking for you, right? We don't need one more thing to think about. I don't know about you, but like, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast, if I had breakfast, let alone think about what to use, when to use it, how to use it. I'll do that for you. I've created all kinds of resources for you for that. The only thing I want you to learn is how to actively get your toddler talking. If you have any questions, pop them here. You know how to find me at Hershey Speech Coach on Instagram. And thank you for coming to the live. Let's see. My daughter is still talking under her breath. What strategy should I use in this scenario? So Brittany said, my daughter is still talking under her breath. What strategy should I use in this scenario? What do you mean by talking under her breath? Can you explain that a little bit more? And while we're waiting for that, Althea said, how do I get him to cooperate when he's feeling overwhelmed? That's a good question for a really long other training, but I'll dive into it now. So she's mumbling while we count 1, 2, 3. I would go with simple words, Brittany. Teach her exclamatory phrases. Uh-oh, things where she needs to really open her mouth. Oh no! Uh-oh. Use a mirror. Be really animated, like over exaggerate things with her and get down to her level. Her level at this point probably is 1 to 2 words. That's all I want you to model for her at one time. 1 word or 1 to 2 words, and be over exaggerated. Use mirrors so she can see your mouth, and start with exclamatory phrases, like big ones. Uh-oh, where you really have to open your mouth. Althea said, how do I get him to cooperate when he's feeling overwhelmed? That's a really hard time to engage your toddler. When your toddlers are feeling overwhelmed or their emotions are just really heightened, it's probably not the time to teach them new words or teach them anything new. I think you need to just meet them where they are, understand that they're overwhelmed, and label that emotion for them. Teach it to them. I see you're really overwhelmed. Do you need a hug? I see you're feeling really frustrated. I'm here when you need me. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It takes a lot of like internal breathing work to do this. But if you start labeling their emotions for them at these heightened moments, they're going to start to understand that this is what I do when I'm feeling frustrated. And I've been doing that with my 4-year-old for a very long time because he used to have very big emotions when he was around 19, 20 months old. And now when he's feeling really frustrated and about to throw a tantrum, he comes to me for a hug. And that's how he calms his body. We talk a lot about calming his body. So it's not the time to teach something new. That's the time to meet them where they are. Um, Althea said, I try and ride the wave out, but sometimes we really have to get in the car. That I totally get. Maybe a distraction item at that point, maybe a choice. Do you want this or this? See if that works. Maybe a timer, but it's probably a transition thing also. So if you set him up to know his expectation, set the timer ahead of time. In 3 minutes, we're going into the car. Set a visual timer. You can download a free one on your phone. Here's a 3-minute timer. When it goes down, he knows you're going into the car. Set him up for success ahead of time. I hope that helps. All right, everyone. You know how to find me if you have any more questions. I hope the wheels are turning a little bit about active language modeling because this is something that is so important for you to learn to teach your toddler new and consistent words. Comment Jumpstart, you're welcome. Comment Jumpstart if you want my training again for the first 40 people that get it. It's only $47, so get it now. There are lots of other resources where all you need to do is learn active language modeling. I will do the rest of the thinking for you. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. What day is it? Tuesday? Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.